Okay, today we're gonna do something just a little bit different. We're doing a bike check on my 2024 Rocky Mountain Altitude.
I get the money and it's right on cue. Keep the duffel bag up inside my coupe. Hold a couple racks, tell them I love you. You wanna be a boss like I do.
So at first glance, this bike is not super blingy or baller. There's nothing electronic on it. It's not lightweight. The wheels are aluminum. That said, and I might be a little bit biased, I think it's a really smart build, especially for the intended use. This build is centered around performance and appropriate for the application components. I'm just going to run you through why I've picked what I've picked. First of all, you should probably know a little bit about me. I'm 6'2", I weigh 200 pounds, and I am built like a baby giraffe. I am legs up to my armpits with a really short torso. I am a bikes are for fun type rider. If and when biking starts to feel like fitness, that's when I'm out, I'm going home. Don't get me wrong, I will climb, I will put in some effort to get to good descents, but going out and pedaling for the hell of it does absolutely nothing for me. I would rather be at home watching Letterkenny reruns. So it shouldn't be a surprise to you that I am not a weight weenie. I don't really care about how much my bikes weigh. And that's because I'm more interested in downhill performance and maximizing fun rather than how quickly I can get to the top of the hill. Also, I don't want my shit blowing up every ride. I prefer riding natural trails over flow trails. I have no interest in riding beach ball trails. What is a beach ball trail? If you can give a beach ball a gentle nudge at the top of a trail and it finds its way safely to the bottom, I have no interest in riding that trail. These are the 10-foot wide dirt sidewalks with tables, rollers, and tons of berms. I just don't get too excited about that. Instead, I prefer narrow, rutted, rocky, rooty, janky trails with mostly flat corners and the occasional slappy berm. And I do like moderately sized jumps and drops. I'm not going crazy on huge jumps, but I do like jumping. So behind me, 2024 Rocky Mountain Altitude. This is the new one. We have a review on it. This is a size extra large. And again, this started as a C70 Air. Currently for the geometry, I am in position 2 on the Ride 4 flip chip, but I have been playing with that over the course of this summer. And I am right in the middle on the reach adjust. I'm at the neutral or the 0, but I might fiddle with the -5 to bring that reach back just a little bit, if only to make the wheelbase just a tiny bit shorter. I do like a big bike, but I'd probably be better suited on 60 to 70% of the trails I ride with just a slightly shorter and more maneuverable wheelbase. So up front, we have a 170 millimeter RockShox Zeb Select Plus that is stock. The scratched decals, however, are custom. You can't just go buy those off the shelf. So I'm rocking just a stock fork on my bike. I really have zero reason to swap it out for anything else. The Zeb has consistently been my favorite big fork for the last year or two. And sure, the ultimate level one with the buttercups would be nice, but I don't know if it's honestly worth the money for me to upgrade for a tiny, minute difference in performance when I can almost replicate that feeling with a little bit lower PSI in my tire, and I have Cushcore in there, so I can get away with that. The stock volume spacer setup on the fork did make it difficult to get the front end feeling balanced with the rear. It was much easier to get into the travel on the rear than it was the front. Consequently, the front end sat really high and tended to skip around just a little bit more than I cared for. So I added a volume spacer to the air chamber and removed about 3 to 5 PSI from my original setup. That made the front and the rear feel far more balanced while still keeping me from using too much of that fork stroke, especially near the bottom out point. Talking about the shock, we do have a RockShox Super Deluxe Air Ultimate. This is, again, the stock shock. Honestly, no reason to upgrade that. I personally feel the Air Shock suits me and my riding style quite a bit better, and I would argue it makes the bike significantly better, almost across the board. It does help keep the bike a little more lively, and I haven't noticed any sort of major reduction in traction or small bump performance going to the air shock from the coil. So it's really only wins in my book. All right, for wheels, I have two 29-inch wheels on this bike with Hope Pro 5 hubs and DT Swiss EX511 rims, 30 millimeters wide. And of course, they are 6-bolt rotor mounting pattern because that's the correct mounting pattern. These wheels are pretty damn heavy, but they're built to take a beating. These hubs are not the flashiest, and they don't have like the highest engagement. They don't make the coolest sound, but they do, however, spin incredibly smoothly, and they will last a lifetime, which is an underrated quality in hubs. Hubs with ultra high engagement are nice, but when you're swapping bearings multiple times a season, that gets old pretty quick. The rims are alloy, but they are extremely durable. The seam is welded, making them even tougher. And in fact, I broke the stock Raceface Arc 30 my first ride out at the seam. I cracked it wide open, and that's considering I have a cush core insert and I was running about 28, 29 PSI in a double down casing tire. Rim still cracked apart, hence the upgraded wheels. So for tires, I am rocking the stock tire setup with a Maxxis Assegai 2.5 EXO Plus in the front with cush core and a Maxxis DHR2 2.4 double down in the rear, again with cush core trail. Typically, for most trails, I'll ride about 25 to 26 PSI in the front and about 27 to 28 PSI in the rear. And that's because I have cush core in there, which will allow me to do that. Drivetrain, we're going stock again here. We have the Shimano XT, just standard OG cable. For the life of me, I cannot remember to charge Axis batteries, so I am back to cable drivetrains. You might say just get a spare battery or two. And yep, that's a great idea, but I can't remember to charge those either. I do not know how many rides I have shown up to with a dead Axis battery. Luckily, I can't forget to charge a cable. And also, I've really grown to like being able to dump 2 gears in either direction on my shifter, and the Shimano XT shifter allows you to do that. Now, talking about brakes, I have swapped out the brakes. This came with XT brakes. They're fine, they're great, not my favorite, they'll do the job. But brakes are one place I am not willing to compromise on price or performance, so I have TRP DHR Evos. TRP brakes are some of the more expensive, but in my mind, they are easily the best performers. They are unmatched. I'm a bigger guy, and I love dragging my brakes down the mountain like a Jerry, so the more power and heat dissipation, the better, especially for me. So, big fatty brakes with big fatty 203mm rotors, both front and back. And with the right brake pads, you can get really, really good modulation on these DHR Evos. I'm running MTX Gold, both front and back, and I like that there's a little bit less bite on those than the OG stock pads that come with the TRPs. I think the power comes on a little bit smoother. And again, I ride like a Jerry, so when I tap my brakes in a corner, it doesn't immediately stand me up and I don't blow the corner. Now let's talk about the cockpit. I am running 1-up 35mm bars, 800 width, with a 42mm 1-up stem. Cockpit preferences are very personal. I personally love the new 1-up components. Carbon E-bar specifically, it's the most compliant bar in their lineup. A couple of years ago, I goobered up my left thumb, and now I am a princess for carbon bars. They help me a ton with hand pain and fatigue. And again, these are very compliant. That's the whole point of these bars, and they are hand savers for me. I am running a 42mm stem. I don't know if I have any way to prove it or any evidence to support it, but my brain really likes matching my stem length to my fork offset. 42 is spot on. And I did install the 1-up headset tool in the steerer tube. I know the Altitude has in-frame storage, but I'm too lazy to reach down there and grab a tool. Rather have it quickly accessible right in my steerer tube, so we've got one of those on this. Plus, that way I can put more gummy worms in my down tube. Now, moving on to the dropper post. I almost immediately swapped the Raceface Turbine R off of this for a 1-up Components V3 210mm dropper. A couple of reasons for this change. Out of the box, the stock Raceface Turbine R dropper did not come back up to full height without me reaching down and giving it a little bit of a nudge. Also, for whatever reason, the internals on that dropper rattle in a way that the Altitude frame accentuates like crazy. It's actually pretty loud, and I'm not personally bothered by loud bikes, and I even noticed how loud that was. So I killed 2 birds with 1 stone by switching to the 1-up V3. Actually, I killed 3 birds. I got an extra 10mm more drop. I also calmed down that rattling noise, and most importantly, got a dropper post that worked. All right, so overall, things that I like on this bike. I like how adjustable the geometry is with the Reach Adjust and the Ride 4. Gives you a lot of combinations for different types of geometry, for different riding preferences, or even different trails. Probably my favorite thing about this is that rear suspension feel. It is top-notch, elite, very good, top shelf, pro, gold star, all of the good adjectives. And I really enjoy the fun versus plow balance on this thing, especially with the air shock. It got way better with the air shock. And now things that I don't like about this bike, the biggest one being my lower link came loose after a couple of rides, and it did take a bit of a tear down and rebuild to clean it all up, get it Loctited, torqued correctly. That said, it's been perfect and extremely low maintenance to no maintenance ever since, but that does not mean I'm not paranoid about it coming loose. And the other one, stupid little bone to pick, sometimes when I grab my water bottle, I tear off the entire frame storage door because the latch is very easy to hit while trying to grab your water bottle. All right, so that's going to do it. This is my 2024 Rocky Mountain Altitude. Hope you enjoyed seeing this type of content. We might do it more with more folks around the shop. So let me know if you like it. See you next time.